of their energy bill. Well, for more, joining me now from the University of Manchester is Bart van Ark, Professor of Productivity Studies at the Alliance Manchester Business School. Professor Bart, from your understanding, the UK plan is to cut the cost of these industrial energy bills by taking from what?
Well, I think it's the energy part that perhaps is a bit the tricky part here. It was added to this, as you said, long-term 10-year industrial strategy to really deal with some of the challenges that business is facing right now with, UK businesses having relatively high energy costs. So this additional funding for 7,000 energy-intensive firms reducing their energy bill by 25% is obviously trying to help that part of the economy forward in the short term. But in the whole scheme of the industrial strategy, it's a relatively small part, but it's also the tricky part because obviously the money for that needs to be found very quickly.
But just on that, is that coming from the environment, as it were, or is it coming from retailers? Who's going to pay for that?
It is probably going to be a little bit of a churning within the money that has been aside for energy. So there will probably be some winners and losers along this. But at the same time, in addition to the 7,000 firms that we're talking about, there's also additional funding available for making sure that access to the grid becomes easier, that small and medium-sized enterprises are being helped at this. So I think the government is trying to balance this as good as they can. But that said, it's a relatively small part of the overall plan that was released this morning.
I mean, if you're looking to invest in the UK, is it really a good place to do so, just from what they're trying to fix in this plan? As you say, the grids are very expensive to join as businesses. They're trying to cut those costs. And why has the UK got some of the biggest energy costs in the Western world?
Look, the UK, like many other countries, are dealing with a combination of big challenges. Climate is one, security is the other one, the potential force of new technology like artificial intelligence, the risk of that is there as well. So all countries are dealing now with industrial strategies. The UK now is doing that on their own. They're not part of the European Union anymore. So this is a fairly ambitious plan to put the UK back on the map. To deal with some of the challenges that it is facing as a country being outside the EU. But I think the government is actually putting in significant effort now to get a balanced program that on the one hand means more government intervention, but at the same time also tries to create more room for private business. And this is the fine line to walk on any kind of industrial strategy, because there's always this risk there's too much government, that there will be too much regulation. But on the other hand, you also want to make sure that you create the right environment for private business to grow and flourish.
Okay, Professor, thanks very much for joining us here on Business Today. That's all for now. Do stay